Elihu Yale Portrait. Elihu Yale's portrait anchors the 1718 renaming and the benefaction of books and money that shaped the college's early identity. Johnston's view of Yale College. This 18th-century engraving gives the audience a period view of Yale College during its early New Haven era. Connecticut Hall/South Middle College. Connecticut Hall was built between 1750 and 1753 and remains the oldest surviving Yale building. The photograph is later, but the building itself carries the 18th-century campus forward. Old Brick Row from Chapel Street. This public library image reconstructs Yale College in 1800, allowing the narration to show the early New Haven campus rather than a modern view. Yale President's House. The President's House was part of Yale's early 19th-century institutional landscape. Yale College, New Haven engraving. A 19th-century public domain engraving shows how Yale was represented before photography became common. Yale College at 1835, J.W. Barbour View. The campus shown here is Yale College in 1835, a visual bridge between the early Republic and the expanding 19th-century college. Old Divinity College. This archival image shows the Divinity College before 1870 and introduces the growth of professional and graduate education. South Sheffield and Kirtland Hall. Sheffield Scientific School buildings show Yale's 19th-century movement towards science and technical education. Delta Kappa Epsilon Meeting Hall. This now demolished 1861 meeting hall records the social and architectural world of late 19th-century Yale. Old Divinity School. The Divinity School complex, built in stages between 1870 and 1874, illustrates specialized schools and campus expansion. Street Hall/School of Fine Arts. Street Hall documents the fine arts school and the widening of Yale beyond the traditional college curriculum. Yale Old Gymnasium. The Old Gymnasium, built in 1890 to 1892 and later demolished, shows how buildings were added and eventually replaced as the university grew. Japanese Yale students. This 1889 student portrait documents Yale's early international connections and the presence of Japanese students. Life at Yale in July. This archival publication image gives a period glimpse of student life and campus culture. Vanderbilt Hall, a freshman dormitory, shows the turn-of-the-century residential campus. George Foster Sanford at Yale. A period portrait places an individual Yale student within the early 20th century campus. Yale Medical School. The 1895 medical school record describes laboratory facilities and the infrastructure of scientific medicine. Medical Department Class of 1911. The 1911 medical class connects Yale's academic growth to professional training and clinical education. St. Anthony Hall. A 1912 fraternity house image shows the social architecture surrounding Yale student life. Morse and Ezra Stiles Colleges. These residential colleges, designed in the mid-20th century, show Yale's physical expansion beyond Old Campus. Beinecke Card Catalog. The card catalog represents the research infrastructure of the 20th century library before digital search. Yale and Rockefeller Cartoon. This public domain cartoon provides a period view of debates about philanthropy and university wealth. Yale New Haven Hospital Aerial View. The aerial hospital view connects Yale's campus to regional health care and public service. Clinic Building. A contemporary clinical building connects university research to patient care. Yale in China faculty. This archival faculty image introduces Yale's long-running international educational relationships. Chicago-Yale Association Banquet. An Alumni Association image shows Yale's organized national network beyond New Haven. A contemporary view links Yale's museums and galleries to public culture. William Howard Taft, Yale College class of 1878 and later a Yale Law graduate, became President and Chief Justice. George H. W. Bush, Yale College class of 1948, entered public service as diplomat, vice president, and president. Bill Clinton studied at Yale Law School before becoming the 42nd president. Hillary Rodham Clinton graduated from Yale Law School and later served as Senator and Secretary of State. Gerald Ford studied at Yale Law School before becoming the 38th president. Sonia Sotomayor, a Yale Law graduate, became the first Latina justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Meryl Streep earned an MFA at Yale School of Drama and carried that training into a major acting career. Grace Hopper's Yale doctorate and computing work connect advanced study to the development of modern computing. Paul Krugman brought economic research into public discussion as an economist and public intellectual. David McCullough, Yale College class of 1955, made archival history accessible to a broad audience. James Tobin's Yale education was part of a career linking economics, public policy, and research. George W. Bush and George H. W. Bush. This joint public image shows George W. Bush with his father. It is labeled as a family image, not a single-person portrait. The Medical Historical Library preserves the material memory of clinical and scientific work. This current research building visualizes Yale's 21st-century medical research capacity. A contemporary architecture school view connects design education to Yale's continuing campus culture. These contemporary buildings show environmental studies, physics, and science infrastructure sharing the Yale landscape. The Beinecke interior shows collections as an active research environment rather than a static storehouse. A central campus view provides a present-day spatial anchor after the historical building sequence. Current graduates connect Yale's education to environmental research and public work. Harkness Tower is a recognizable Gothic landmark in the modern campus skyline. A current laboratory building visualizes the research and clinical infrastructure discussed in the closing section. A contemporary studio image shows design practice and the symbolic life of the campus. The gate is a present-day view of Yale's built heritage and student societies. The law school exterior supports the discussion of legal education and public service. A student presentation space shows collaborative, project-based learning. The theater image supports Yale's continuing contribution to arts and performance. A current Yale building view establishes the living campus in the 2020s. A current view of Harkness Memorial Hall shows Yale's historic architectural vocabulary in active use. Student recreation shows the lived campus beyond classrooms and laboratories. A contemporary social scene illustrates student life in the present campus. A public street view situates the campus in New Haven. The architecture entrance shows current design education in the campus setting. A contemporary interior illustrates studio-based learning. Campus transport supports the practical infrastructure of a large modern university. A distinct contemporary campus building view supports the transition to Yale in the present day. A faculty portrait provides a human link to teaching and scholarship. A separate interior view supports the discussion of contemporary design education. A student-made installation shows the creative work of Yale's design community. A model in the architecture school shows students translating research into designed proposals. Student materials show hands-on learning and collaboration. A student model visualizes making and critique in contemporary Yale education. A digital rendering shows the relationship of design, technology, and research. A contemporary studio view connects Yale's symbols to current student work.